The Curse of St. Brigid's Church. In the heart of Charleston, South Carolina, St. Brigid's Church rose like a silent sentinel above the old city streets. Its gray, stone walls were cracked with age, ivy climbing in thick green cords to the belfry, where the bell hung mute and rusted. For more than a century, the church had served its community a place of weddings, funerals, Sunday services, and solemn candlelit vigils. But lately, it had fallen quiet. Father Thomas, the parish priest for nearly 20 years, was the first to notice the change. At first, it was subtle. The candles on the altar wouldn't stay lit, sputtering out with no breeze. The baptismal font developed a pale film on the water's surface, no matter how often he scrubbed it clean. One autumn evening, after locking up, Father Thomas paused in the nave to listen to the city sounds beyond the heavy doors. Instead, he heard whispering low, unplaceable, dozens of voices mingling in dissonant tones. When he spun around, the church was empty. The next day he told himself he was imagining things. Stress, age. He prayed harder, but the whispers returned, night after night. Then there were the shadows. They didn't behave the way shadows should. They stretched along the walls even without light to cast them, twisting, writhing. When Father Thomas walked past them, they seemed to recoil like something living that hated him. The congregation noticed, too. Churchgoers shivered despite the southern summer heat. Statues of saints glistened with condensation that refused to dry. A sense of unease spread. Mrs. Delaney, a lifelong parishioner in her 80s, whispered to her family that she would never set foot inside again. At Sunday Mass, the organ sometimes played on its own. Discordant chords rumbled through the church, rattling the old stained-glass windows. One Sunday, Marie, a single mother of 2, came to confession. She tried to begin her words, but stopped, staring past Father Thomas with wide, glassy eyes. She gasped, dropped to her knees, and pressed her hands over her ears. "It's in here," she sobbed. "It's right behind you." Father Thomas turned, heart hammering. There was nothing there, but the shadows seemed darker, thicker, clinging to the corners of the confessional like oil. He escorted her out, her breathing ragged. She didn't return. Word spread beyond the parish. Attendance dwindled. Charleston was a city that wore its history, proudly old mansions, cobbled streets, tales of pirates and duels, but Brigid's was quickly earning a different reputation. Locals crossed themselves when passing its gates. The city's ghost tour guides added it to their routes. Flashlight beams swept over the cracked steps at night, while guides told breathless tourists about chanting in dead languages and vanishing figures in the pews. Some, emboldened by the stories, broke in. A group of amateur ghost hunters brought their cameras and recorders. They caught footage of moving shadows, dark streaks darting along the walls. Their equipment glitched, batteries drained in seconds. One man claimed he was trapped inside the vestry for 2 hours while the door, which had no lock, refused to budge. When they finally got it open, he was shaking, unable to explain what he'd seen. City officials closed the church for renovations, hoping to fix the structural hazards. Crews arrived with jackhammers and tarps, but work halted. When they uncovered shallow graves under the foundation, historians determined the land had been used as a colonial gallows site. Decades before the church's construction, condemned prisoners had been executed there and hurriedly buried in unmarked graves. After that discovery, the construction crew refused to return. Father Thomas, determined to save his church, invited experts. An investigator from the diocese arrived, recording a temperature drop of nearly 30 degrees in the nave. Candles lit themselves with dark, sooty flames. When he played recordings back, they caught an unintelligible growl layered beneath the static. The diocese dispatched an exorcist, a quiet, serious man named Father Alvarez. Father Alvarez held a special mass in the darkened church. Only Father Thomas and 2 brave parishioners attended. They huddled near the altar while Alvarez read in Latin. Outside, a summer thunderstorm rolled in, pounding rain against the stained-glass windows. Lightning flashed, illuminating the nave in stark colors. The shadows inside writhed as though in agony. Candles on the altar guttered and flared with black smoke. The air thickened, chokingly heavy. The floorboards creaked and shuddered beneath them. Then the voice came, a deep, resonant roar that echoed in every corner of the church, vibrating in their bones. "This is ours." It wasn't human. It wasn't even angry. It sounded sure. The mass ended in chaos. Father Alvarez declared the site strongly infested and left Charleston the next day. Father Thomas tried one last time to bless the church on his own. As he prayed, the great crucifix above the altar fell with a shattering crash, the ancient wood splintering at his feet. He wept. He locked the doors behind him. The city posted iron gates and warning signs, KEEP. Out the diocese cut funding for repairs. Now St. Brigid stands empty. The roof leaks. The bell tower is dark, though people swear they hear it tolling at midnight, its deep note rolling over the sleeping city. Locals avoid it after dark. Even the ghost tours keep their distance. They whisper that St. Brigid's is alive, waiting, that the land remembers every cruelty it witnessed.